Have you ever stopped to really think about what's going on behind your eyes? I mean, it's not just about seeing, right? It's like there's this incredible biological masterpiece at work every single second. So today, we're going to break down exactly how that masterpiece works, and then we'll use that knowledge to figure out some of the most amazing sights our world has to offer. All right, let's dive in.
Yeah, forget about the latest smartphone. I'm telling you, this is the most powerful, most sophisticated camera you will ever own. It autofocuses instantly, it adjusts to any lighting on the fly, and it captures everything in stunning high-def, full color, and in real time. We are, of course, talking about the human eye. So the big question is, how on earth does this little natural camera actually pull it all off?
Okay, so first things first, let's get to know the hardware. Think of it like a quick tour of the eye's basic anatomy. And trust me, you're about to see just what a marvel of biological engineering this thing really is.
So, the whole eyeball, it's this almost perfect little sphere, only about 2.3 centimeters across. I want you to picture it like a tiny, self-contained movie theater. Light comes in the front, it passes through a whole series of lenses and openings, and then, bam! It forms a perfectly clear image on a light-sensitive screen way at the back. So, let's break down these key parts one by one. All right, the very first thing light hits is the cornea. You can think of it as this clear, transparent dome right on the front, and it does all the heavy lifting, really. It's responsible for most of the bending, or what we call refraction, of the light that comes into the eye. It's kind of like the main fixed lens on our biological camera.
Okay, so just behind the cornea, we've got the iris. That's the colored part of your eye. What makes them blue or brown. And its main job is to control the size of the pupil, that little black dot right in the middle. When it's super bright out, the iris squeezes the pupil down to a tiny pinprick, but in the dark, it opens it way up. It works exactly like the aperture on a camera, controlling just how much light gets inside.
So, after the light goes through the pupil, it hits the crystalline lens. This guy is responsible for all the fine-tuning of the focus. And from there, that focused light gets projected onto the retina, way at the back of the eye. And folks, this is where the real magic happens. The retina is just packed with millions of light-sensitive cells, and they take that image and convert it into electrical signals. These signals then get zipped straight to the brain through the optic nerve. So yeah, the retina is basically the camera's sensor and its data cable all rolled into one.
So how does the eye do that? Switch focus from something way out in the distance to something right in front of your face in just a split second. Well, it all comes down to a little bit of biological magic.
This incredible ability has a name. It's called the Power of Accommodation. And really, it's just the eye's built-in autofocus system. There are these teeny tiny structures called ciliary muscles, and what they do is physically change the shape of that crystalline lens we were just talking about. By doing that, they can alter its focal length on the fly. It's amazing.
Here's how it works. So when you're looking at something far away, your ciliary muscles just relax, and that allows the lens to become thinner and flatter. But the second you look at something up close, say your phone, those same muscles contract. This actually squeezes the lens, making it thicker and more curved, and that's what brings the nearby object into sharp focus. It's this constant, totally effortless adjustment that keeps our world looking so clear.
But, sometimes this really elegant system doesn't work quite perfectly. Over time, the eye can start to lose its power of accommodation, or maybe the eyeball itself isn't shaped exactly right. So let's take a look at what happens then. Okay, so it all comes down to where the light is focusing. If you have myopia, or what we call nearsightedness, the images of distant objects focus in front of the retina, and that makes things blurry. To fix it, we use a concave lens to spread the light out a bit before it enters the eye. Now, with hypermetropia, or farsightedness, it's the exact opposite problem. The image of nearby objects tries to focus behind the retina. So in this case, a convex lens is used to give the light rays that little extra push to focus correctly.
And then there's presbyopia. Now this one isn't really about the shape of your eyeball, it's just a natural part of getting older. Over time, that crystalline lens it gets less flexible, and the ciliary muscles can get a bit weaker. This makes that whole power of accommodation thing we talked about way harder. And that is why you see so many people holding menus or their phones way out at arm's length just to be able to read them.
All right, so we've spent a lot of time exploring the camera, our eye. But what about the information it's actually capturing? I mean, what is light really? To answer that, we've got to shift gears a little bit from biology to this super fascinating physics of light itself.
So, you know when we look at sunlight, we see it as white, right? Or maybe kind of yellowish. But is that the whole story? What is white light really made of?
Well, as it turns out, sunlight isn't one color at all. It's actually a whole spectrum of different colors, all mixed together. When you pass a beam of white light through a prism, it splits apart into this beautiful band of colors. And yeah, you probably remember the acronym from school, VIBES, for violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red.
This whole splitting of light phenomenon is called dispersion. What's happening is as the white light goes into the prism, each color inside it bends or refracts at a slightly different angle. Violet light, which has a shorter wavelength, bends the most, and red light, with its longer wavelength, bends the least. It's this tiny difference in bending that separates them all out and reveals that hidden rainbow inside the light.
Okay, so this is where it all comes together. Now that we understand a bit about the eye and the nature of light, we can start to explain some of the most beautiful things we see in our world.
Let's start with an absolute classic. We've all seen them, of course, but why exactly do rainbows show up in the sky right after it rains?
Well, the answer is pretty amazing. It's because millions of tiny little water droplets are left hanging in the air, and each one acts like a microscopic prism. So sunlight goes into a droplet, and just like with a prism, it refracts and disperses into its colors. Then, that colored light bounces off the inside back of the droplet and comes back out, refracting again and separating the colors even more as it travels toward your eye. It is, no joke, a spectacular display of physics happening all over the sky.
All right, next big question. On a perfectly clear day, why is the sky blue? Why not green, or red, or yellow?
This is all because of something called scattering. See, as sunlight travels through our atmosphere, it runs into all the tiny molecules of air, and these molecules scatter the light. But here's the trick. They are way better at scattering short wavelength light, like blue and violet, than they are at scattering long wavelength light, like red and orange. So all that blue light gets scattered in every direction, coming at us from all over the place and basically painting the whole sky blue.
And finally, why do stars twinkle? A star is so incredibly far away that to us, its light is coming from a single tiny point. As that little pinprick of light travels through all the shaky, shifting layers of our atmosphere, it gets bent and refracted over and over again. And that is what makes its position and brightness seem to flicker. Now planets? They're much closer. So they aren't a single point, they're an extended source. The light from all their different points kind of averages out, which cancels out that twinkling effect and gives them a nice steady shine.
Which brings us to one last kind of mind-bending thought. We've just learned that our beautiful blue sky is a direct result of sunlight interacting with our atmosphere, right? So, let's imagine you were standing on the moon. There's no atmosphere there to scatter that light. What color would the sky be? The answer is a deep, profound, perfect black. It's a pretty powerful reminder that so much of what we see and how we see it is shaped by the incredible physics happening all around us all the time.